What's your name? Where are you from? What clique you claim? Who are you? What do you do? What's your major? What do you believe in? What's your occupation? All conversations boil down to some form of epistemology. What we know and how we know it. So, do you know yourself? And how do you know yourself? Identity has been something that philosophers and all humankind has been struggling with. It's nothing new. You didn't ask to be born. You just are. And as you grow and acquire certain beliefs and personality traits and your body changes, you gradually become what you are now. But what is you? What is the identity of the self? Are you the collection of your thoughts? Are you the body that houses those thoughts? Are you the labels that other people place on you? And is you always changing? And what happens when you're stripped of that identity? For example, to corporations, you could just be another number, another cog in the machine, a data point, essentially stripping you of any identity. You're just another key performance indicator to boost sales, growth, cash flow. And you're placed in these certain categories and you essentially become a number. You're a statistic. And I believe that there is an attempt, maybe not on purpose, to weaponize identity by creating more and more identity crises. I feel like most people don't know themselves and are very uncertain of the path that they're heading on. So they find things that they can identify with. And with the equalizer that is the internet, we find ourselves in communities that are more and more scattered and less cohesive. You know, you can find your favorite obscure rap artist community on Discord or Reddit, or you can find a place to discuss your favorite letter of the alphabet, or you can find self-improvement channels regurgitating the same stuff every podcast bro has been saying for the past 4 years. Carnivore, cold showers, don't touch your willy. But with so many communities, there's got to have an effect on how secure one feels in the world, right? There's so many sources of information and entertainment that you can privately consume, and there's no sense of cohesiveness because you can privately pick and choose what media and entertainment that you like. Your recommendations have already been predetermined by an algorithm. You can't automatically assume that you have much more in common with other people now, so it makes it harder to easily connect with people now. You don't like what your in real life friend has to say? Okay, well, I'll just hop on Discord and find people to complain to. And I'm definitely not saying that this is a bad thing to have those individual preferences. I'm just recognizing the huge change in the social dynamic and how it's so new and we're still adjusting to it. And what I've noticed is that oftentimes in the mainstream Western media, it's always left versus right, it's black and it's white. It's starting to sound like a Katy Perry song. And that mentality of either you are against us or you're with us pops up. But the thing is, everyone has their own identity. Everyone's experiences are vastly different. Your geographical location, your socioeconomic status, your upbringing. To me, identity could be a sort of an economic or social adhesive, a glue. And it's always there at the start of any relationship between individuals or groups of people or even between governments and businesses. Just as it can bring people together for good, identity can hold people accountable for bad things as well. Many people are just so steadfast in their conviction, they don't even try to give the other side a chance. They cannot empathize and can't begin to see the other side. And it starts to turn into this yelling match on who has the better method of doing things. In their binary world, you're either right or you're wrong. And you have to understand though, you always have more than one choice. There's always another way of looking at things. You know, it's just much easier to lump things together to create that illusion of choice than to explain it fully. There's just so many environments of duality. But in reality, there are so many paths, and most people are just uncertain of which path to take. And it's anxiety inducing because it's like the butterfly effect. What you do now could open up so many different possibilities for the future. So you better choose correctly. And do you ever find yourself like scrolling through Netflix or Hulu just trying to figure out what you're gonna watch, or trying to find that video that you want to put on so you can enjoy the next 15 minutes while you eat your meal? I think we're bombarded by choices all the time, in every aspect of our lives. And it feels like these choices are very important and it could affect your future. No wonder there's so much anxiety. You know, it's much easier to narrow things down and to pick from a few things. And that's what businesses and corporations try to do when they want to focus on their target audience, the for sure buyers. And in this new age of fast dopamine, they need to know what will retain your attention span. Attention is a new currency, and figuring out what you want is so valuable. They need to know what you like, who you are, and if you're going to be a repeat buyer. They need certainty, and that stems from data. Data is the new modern day commodity. It's digital oil. You know, data is what decreases uncertainty. Knowing something and recognizing a pattern of yourself or others allows you to move forward and decrease that uncertainty. Most people don't have a clue what they're doing with their life. They have no idea who they are. And that's such a scary and sad thing to think of, because when you're uncertain of yourself and you question your identity, you might want to attach yourself to certain ideologies or beliefs and brands. Try to convince yourself that you are that person. You could form unhealthy parasocial relationships on Twitch. You could become part of a cult. You could become stuck in an echo chamber and have other people validate your thoughts so you feel more certain of yourself. And in this dopamine age where a meme has a shelf life of less than a week, we're kind of forced to have these individual or original thoughts every time, new ideas, new ways of looking at things. And that must be tiring. That must breed some form of uncertainty as well. You know, like, am I being original? Am I deep? It's like Keeping Up with the Joneses, but with philosophy and original ideas. Well, how do you become more certain of yourself? Well, I believe you need a healthy balance of the known and the unknown. It allows you to question the narrative. It allows you to be skeptical. And you should question everything and try to come to some common ground. Ask questions and try to understand and to empathize. That comes from civil discourse, Socratic discussions. But what seems to sell nowadays? Sensationalism. Civil discourse isn't a thing because sensationalism is what sells headlines. It's what you've been told to believe. It's what creates engagement. Telling something or someone that they're wrong is satisfying. It satisfies that certain itch, but it's not civil engagement. It's divisive engagement. It's me versus you. It's not us versus the problem at hand. And I feel like we have lost the ability as a collective to discuss hard topics without pointing fingers or trying to find common ground. Plus, the environment of being anonymous is quite troubling, especially when you can just make a new profile with a fake profile picture and name and background. And it's easy to spout things just to get a reaction out of someone. So I guess what this channel or video is I'd like for viewers to try and do is to have those hard discussions with their friend group, to try and be a more empathetic person. You know, support your claims, research, try to understand, ask questions, find common ground, define things. It's okay to have differing opinions, but also try to understand where your shortcomings of knowledge might stem from and how to have a civilized discussion and hear the other. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be heard and listened to, right? It may be boring, but that's how we reduce uncertainty in knowing another person. And we can begin to be on the same page. As Yang said, it's not about left or right. It's about moving forward.